Namaskar, I'm Ashok Vyas and I have the pleasure of welcoming someone across the 7C that is sitting in Jaipur, someone who is also known for his initiative of organizing annual talk journalism, but more than that, he has been a thorough, sincere, committed journalist, as if the passion of reporting made him who he is, shunning all other possibilities, and how that journey has unfolded for Avinash Kalla. We'll learn from him. Avinashji, welcome. Namaste. Thank you.
Namaskar. Thanks for the kind word. You've been very generous with your words.
So, generosity is one way of looking at something that comes to you. But when I say what I say based on what I know about you, it appears like stating facts. So let us talk about facts to begin with. The facts about your life. You come from Jodhpur, and parents
Yes.
don't look up to their son turning out to be a journalist, the profession which has its own uncertainties. And though we respect journalists, yet they are not that much respected as engineers or doctors are. What would you say, going back in your memory lane, recollecting your formative years?
See, as you said, it's not as respected as engineers and doctors are. So I would say I'm a respected plus one because I have an engineering degree to, earn a little respect from. And then I dabbled into journalism where there was nothing but facts and brickbats every other day. So this is what all it has been. I'm a trained engineer and an MBA to earn respect in society as far as education is concerned. But other than that, I had a chance to entry into journalism, and then I never left that. I never went back to what I was trained to do.
So now the question comes when you are doing engineering, then indeed you as student, your professors, indeed your family is looking up to your future as an engineer. So, and you also did MBA after that, I believe.
Yes.
So then how journalism became a part of your life?
Just by chance, out of an engineering college, I was in Delhi looking for a job, and I was also keen to pursue MBA and pay my own fees. So, I was looking for opportunities, and I saw a small little opening, and I spoke to a cousin of mine, and he said that if you want to go, please go ahead, and went in, gave an interview. It was a small news agency in South Delhi, Newsman Features, where it was me, my boss, one office assistant, and a dog. So it was just four of us who were starting, and that is where I learned my basics of journalism and chasing stories. And it fascinated me, the power of the pen, which we used to all say that if you can tell a story to the world that nobody else has seen or heard, there can't be a bigger joy than that.
So there is an element of detective type of mindset in a journalist, is what I gather based on the way you were excited for telling a new story and increasing awareness. But let us face it, most of the newspapers, and we are restricting to print media for now, are flooded with basic, flat, factual, information based stories. Or sometimes there is orders of opinion. There are, so the kind of excitement which you referred to gives me to conclude that you are referring to investigative journalism more than the normal journalism that we see on the newspaper pages.
No, not that, Ashokji. It's not that case. Investigation is one part and a very specialized part at that. Not every one can be trained for it. But for me, the excitement was to see your name on that newspaper and going out and meeting different people and then keeping your eyes and ears open. That and the whole skill of looking at things in a different way. That okay, I started with writing features. And features are all about people, the trends that we see, who is wearing what, who is doing what is being read, what is not being read, what is being watched. So that is where I picked my basics from, and the art of writing stories. I'm an engineer. I've always dealt with numericals. Words were never a forte of mine. I still remember my first boss, Mr. Mukesh Khosla, telling me that whenever you write a story, your first line, pardon me for being sexist here, says it should be like Zenat Aman. It should be that attractive that it brings the person to read the next line. And that is where from I started reading my things. So I still think that if you are curious about knowing things, and if you have a flair of putting them in words or telling them in a new way, you have the basics of being a journalist, and then you learn as you grow. I still remember a colleague of mine in the Times of India, Mr. Avijit Ghosh, telling me that if you're not writing a minimum 50 stories a month, you are not a good journalist. So you need to have a way of putting even the basic news out. It all depends on the reporter, how one looks at that story, even if it's a single column story or an 8 column full page spread. It is your excitement, the way you tell that. And believe you me, even though I don't report for a newspaper, I usually keep myself on digital or mostly Twitter. But the excitement of writing those 280 characters that you know first and nobody else has is unparalleled.
I'm happy
And sticking
to
your
hear.
neck out to it.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that freshly from you. And there are a couple of things here. One relates to language, and you said you were a man of numeric, being an engineer, and the challenge that you were given to have the attractive first sentence which would lead readers to move forward. How do you see yourself different on that moment where you're thinking about how you should begin? And I think that is very creative as any other genre, which is literally creative writing is. So talk to me about your learning on coming up with first line of your reports.
See, as I told you, the benchmark that Mr. Khosla had sent me was it should be Zenat Aman. So I would always think, what is it in the story that I know that the reader has no idea about? What would strike me as a reader first? So I've never thought of it as a creative process. Once you write it, it becomes a part of your psyche, and you are as good a writer as you keep writing. And that is where Mr. Avijit Ghosh's idea of writing at least 50 stories a month, which is 2 every day roughly, so that your mind is that sharp that you could play around with things. It's a simplistic story, and I still believe that the best story is one which is told in the most simplistic manner, that a person doesn't have to refer to a dictionary or doesn't have to give his or her mind much of an effort to just get that idea going. So for me, still, writing story is presenting as it happened to me.
So what happened to you at your first job? And you are a journalist who has learned most of the tricks of the trade on the job, as well as you have picked up the art of reporting on the job. And of course, you were there with a background of engineering as well as MBA. So it becomes natural to take interest in the business aspect of journalism, or if you are part of a print media. And many times the commercial concern supersedes the spirit of journalism, as you just mentioned. Did you come across a situation where you had to compromise, or you had to find a way to satisfy, let us say, the owner of the newspaper, or the one who is financing the project, etc.? And how do you see the balance between the commercial needs to survive and grow, as well as the spirit of journalism as you were pulled by?
See, it's a very pertinent question. It's a question that is hitting the industry and the mega business houses. Everybody's wondering, how is journalism viable? Is it commercially viable? Because as George Orwell said, that journalism is all about publishing a thing that nobody wants published. Rest all is public relations. So you're walking a very tight rope. And I would say I was very fortunate to work in a small agency where we had to produce 20 articles every month to sustain and give salaries to staffers and other freelancers. So my entry into journalism was from the business aspect of it. I always learned it, and I came to understand that you need to have a bare minimum finances to keep telling good stories. And I still believe that I don't see it as two different fights. My idea is that if you look at the Times of India, for example, world's largest selling English daily, India's biggest media house, is Times of India doesn't reach more than 0.75% of Indian population. I'm talking about the print media, on which the whole Times brand is later created. So my idea is that because India is such a huge population, the numbers are so big that even if you touch a minuscule right people, you can survive. And then let me tell you one more thing, Ashokji. I am a trained engineer. I trained in MBA. I practiced almost for 9 years. And then post 9 years, I took a decision to go and study journalism for the first time in England. So I went to University of Westminster and I pursued my master's in journalism, in international journalism. And one of my major was online and digital. And there I learned the trick that if you have a good story to tell, there are takers in the world, and an online medium, nobody can take your story's credit or right from you. So if you are lean and have a good story to tell, you can survive. And that is what I have always believed in. And I'm very happy to say that it's been 10 years now that I have been without a regular job, but without having a regular, despite having a regular income, I've been able to build India's first journalism festival, which is commercially viable, which doesn't succumb to any pressure, and it has built its own identity. We are not very high on social media. We don't go about likes, but we invite the biggest names. In fact, Edward Snowden spoke at our event, which nobody else could get in the entire Asian Pacific region. So my belief in journalism has strengthened over years, that if you have a good, truthful story to tell, however small your audience may be, you will find a way to sustain and deliver it.
So now I'm excited at a couple of areas related to you, your journey, and since you mentioned about talk journalism, so I'll jump to this and then I'll come back to the other references. So why you felt that having an event like talk journalism was important, and skipping the challenges that you faced in making it happen, what was the achievement in your mind by bringing all these big names on one platform? And I I would also be happy if you share, you must have certain stories to bring in some people, like you mentioned about Snowden, and I think many Indian well-known, very well-established journalists who were controversial, or are controversial, were also a part of this talk journalism series of sessions. Give us a snapshot of talk journalism.
So Ashokji, it happened on a very, it's quite a funny tale, and there is no sense of achievement on building it. I was back from London. I started a startup of my own, a digital platform, but I wasn't business-wise, so it folded in 3 months, and I was flat jobless again. So one day I was telling my wife that, Archana, digital is going to change the world. This is how newsrooms are going to look, this and that. So she said, and I said, an event like this could be curated. We can bring people in and we can debate. So my wife told me, if you are that convinced and you think you could do it, why don't you go out and give it a shot? I said, how do we do? We have never created an event and I don't have any expertise on it. So she said, you go ahead. We'll try something around. So it was my brainchild, and Archana backed it to the hilt. And I shared the idea with another friend of mine who was Avnindra Mishra, who was also jobless at that point in time. So he said, "Yeah, it sounds exciting. Why don't we do it?" So I go to another friend who makes websites, Pankaj, and in flat 30 minutes, he created a template for me. We called it Talk Journalism. There was no idea behind it. There was a very simplistic logo. And I said, okay, now I will reach out and invite people. So I had no means, nothing to do. The venue that I booked is the biggest venue in Jaipur. It has a capacity of 1,200 people. I just walked in and booked it for myself. And then I started tweeting people. And it took a little while, but on maybe the second or third day, people started responding back. And to my own good self, we got 7 journalists who agreed to come if I paid their travel tickets and put them in a decent place. And a cabinet minister who is now the Speaker of the Assembly, who knew me from my journalism days, agreed to come and inaugurate it. So that is how Talk Journalism started, I think on July 16th, if I'm not wrong, 2012, with an audience of 103, which included my 3-year-old daughter and wife in it, and 7 journalists. And it was broadcasted on a British website, and no Indian takers for it at that point in time. And not many people turned up. So that was the beginning of Talk. And then after a 2-year sabbatical, I came back, started. I was very fortunate to find a friend, Jameel Khan, who said that, my dear friend, I'll help you on this. So he became my partner in crime. So since 2015, me and Jameel have taken this forward. And as always, the core with me has been Archana and Akhil. And then I have a bunch of friends. Let me tell you very honest and clear. You said challenges? For us, there are no challenges. We are a bunch of friends who every year during the month of Talk Journalism leave their jobs for 2 weeks and they become my volunteers. So they become my logistic managers, my cab drivers, my event managers, and so on and so forth. And touch wood, we have been very lucky for last 5 years. So this is how we build the event. Secondly comes the name. How do you get names and people? And as a journalist, as you would be aware, we are trained to reach out and knock the doors. So my philosophy has always been knock the door with a confident heart and believe in your idea and people will fall back. You would not believe, it just took me 4 tweets and 3 emails to get Edward Snowden on my event.
Wow.
We got the gentleman from Washington, D.C., who brought to the world Panama Papers. So we got Gerald there, we got this, we got 2 very good investigators from United Kingdom coming in. And then once we had Fairmont as our partner, there was no looking back. We invited people to a very high posh area address. First year, there were few friends who helped me reach out to some big journalists. And once the show was put up, and I still remember I had Rajdeep Sardesai, Suhasini Haidar, Rahul Srivastava. These 3-4 big television names at that point in time came to the event and everybody was talking. And after that, Google came to support, Facebook supported us, Twitter has been coming into the event, and we have been able to get all these names. And the core is we bring students as an audience of ours. Our belief is that they are the next generation of journalists who need to be taught and told what the profession is all about and how it is changing. So this is how Talk has evolved. We have never taken an agenda. We have had people from extreme right, extreme left, center, overseas, and it has been good fun. So and we hope this year we are able to do it.
Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of format you have, but you mentioned about Rajdeep Sardesai, who in a recent conversation at the London Top Show referred to you as a good friend, and I'm sure there would be some. I mean, I don't know whether we put him in the extreme left or not, but he's leaning towards left is the image that we have, and indeed his name comes and people look up, or rather are reminded of his very, very forceful anti-Prime Minister Modi stand at several conversations, but then things keep moving. So my question was, do you develop a kind of dialogue where you have people who share different viewpoints are on the same stage, or it is one man lecturing?
No, it's never one man lecturing, Ashokji. It's see, as the name is talk journalism. We get journalists from different areas of the country. We put them all on a platform, and they talk about a contemporary issue on how they are dealing with the subject, and then they answer questions from people. So it's those 3 days where you could question those who question the authorities 365 days a year. So that is what our format is. And mind you, people really come prepared to take journalists on. And
So
all these names that you have been saying, be it Rajdeep or Ravish, as you were mentioning, you haven't taken the name, but I got an hint that it was Ravish Kumar that you were talking about.
yes.
So while we invite them, we also get the people from right of the spectrum, like the editor of Organizer is a very dear friend, Praful Ketkar, and he comes every year to the event. We've even had Dr. Subramanian Swamy come into the event. So we try bring in as many diversity as we could. We bring in people from different languages also. You will have people coming in from Chhattisgarh, from Northeast, from Tamil Nadu, from Kerala. You name a part of the state and we have people from even Kashmir. So we try bring in as many diverse elements to the forum and throw the house open for conversations.
So, Avinash, let's move towards street, if I say. When I say street, I mean a common concern that people have is now shared through social media also. So, on the one hand,
Yes.
social media is acting as a counterbalancing force. On the other hand, it is also spreading a sort of chaotic way of presenting things. So, you always feel the need of having a fact check, which is not possible for a common man. But my question to you is slightly different. Of course, we touch about social media. The way media runs after a story is guided by already earned recognition by the subject of the story. So if something happens to a celebrity, then you will have people writing one after another story, and if worse than what a celebrity is going through has happened to a common man or lesser known person, that story is not given due attention. Do you see there is imbalance in the way stories are taken up?
Certainly, and more than print, I would say it's the electronic media. I'm sorry to say the medium that you are using right now, television, because it is a costly medium, and you need eyeballs. You need eyeballs. If something happens to, let's say, an Avinash Kalla vis-a-vis something happening to a top-notch journalist, that story is the story to run after. So yes, that has always been the case, and why today? It has always been there in the past as well. There are people who are newsmakers, so quote unquote. But in this whole era of social media, I see social media giving people a chance to express themselves, put the right story forward, and we have had numerous examples of something breaking on social media and then others following it up, and it becoming a mainstream news. So yes, there are pitfalls of social media, and ever since politicians have invaded the platform, it has gone haywire. You now have distinct lines on the right and left, even on social, who you follow, who you don't follow. But I think it's a great place to be. It is still a place where you could connect straight with an idea and get a direct response. For me, it has happened, and I always look at the positive of it. Yes, facts need to be checked. At times in hurry, we do things which are not right. But on social, you can always correct yourself or update the information, which is not possible maybe in a print media.
So, Vinay, let me take you to another slightly, if I say, vulnerable space in terms of having open dialogue. Maybe not, but the kind of calm communication that we are having. See, the secular fabric of India has resulted into certain type of mindset is one narrative whereby if something happens to a Muslim or a Dalit would be taken up by most of the media. But if that is happening to a Hindu or the majority part, then it would not get that kind of attention is one narrative, and it may be backed by certain stories also. What would be your take on this particular issue?
See, it's sad. What you're saying is, I would not say it's not a reality. It's a harsh reality that media is facing today. Uh, but it's not applicable to all media. What you have been also saying is a certain section of TRP rating or strong presence channels. If I'm talking of the Indian media space, there are channels which lean towards the right and with the government, and the others which are not. So if let's say the allegation comes that the Hindu bashing or the majority bashing is not seen on television, they would only show a minority community more and more in light space, which is true. But on the other hand, when they rake up issues which are related to, but the same can be said of those channels that they would never present an atrocity on a minority in that way. So these are two different spaces. The Indian media is clearly divided. Now, I always tell that if you need to get any information and make up your mind, read both sides, read both the platforms, then get to your own facts. And that's a hard reality of life. There are very few neutral and objective mediums left.